Hi investigators, Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy with this week's riveting episode of SpyCurious, the Australian private, corporate and government investigator weekly news. One of my most frequently asked questions is, what's the difference between police surveillance and civil investigation surveillance? Let's have a look. Well, that's the difference for all those that you wanted to know. So now you know the difference between the two. Police surveillance operations are done by 25 police officers in 15 cars. Civil investigation surveillance, it's one person. So it takes a real lot of skill. Big news this week in investigation in Sydney. Congratulations, everyone at MJM. Well done. We wish you all the best with your award. I'm sure you will give it a very good shake and well deserved if you get up there. And it's really great just to be nominated. So congratulations, Kieran, and everyone at MJM. Other big news this week, AIRLA, Insurance Industry Association, have unfortunately had to cancel their annual conference. So it was supposed to be going on in November, but due to the Covid-19 situation, they've had to put it off until August 2022. So that's a bit of sad news there. But what that means is Lisa Carson and I, who spoke at the AILA down in Hobart 2 years ago, two of the last 6 speakers at an AILA conference. Well done, Lisa. It was a great program you put on down there. Very informative information, Lisa. Well done. Lisa at CHS down in Melbourne, very busy down there in Melbourne with workers' compensation at the moment. Lisa's also got herself a Australian Security Academy evidence bag. Some of the jobs that are around this week. Here's a corporate investigation position for anyone looking for those. This is with Allianz, and they're after an investigations coordinator. So you're going to be coordinating the investigations on behalf of Allianz with all the investigation agencies. So there's a great role if you've got experience in doing that sort of thing. You'll be able to do that corporate job with them. Now, speaking of MJM before, MJM are looking for licensed private investigators. They're hiring licensed PIs. So get in touch with them. You can see all our job vacancies, every single one of them, here on our Facebook page. So our Facebook page has all the job vacancies you're seeing here, except I think for one, which I didn't have time to put up there. I only put up 30% of the available jobs. So you can see them there. And I'll highlight some of the new ones for this week. Excuse me. It's on that one. Precise investigation. We're looking for factual investigator subcontractors in Melbourne. So there's a great role there at Precise. If you can take a statement off people in workers' compensation, general insurance, that sort of thing, get in touch with Precise Investigations. ProCare down in South Australia, over in Adelaide, great team at ProCare all around the country. They're looking for surveillance operatives. So get in touch with ProCare if you're looking for a surveillance position. They've got them down. G'day, Jamie. How you going, mate? Good to hear from you. Hi, Renee. Sorry I missed you before. So if you're looking for a surveillance position, ProCare have that available down in Adelaide. They've got several positions available down there. This one's a government investigation position with the Department of Primary Industries in New South Wales. A really great role enforcing regulatory compliance in New South Wales. You'll need a certificate for in government investigation for that role. G'day, Craig. Good to hear from you, mate. Hope everything's going well down south. There's a manager of fraud leakage for Petshaw down in Sydney. Now, leakage, this is a really important term if you are looking for a claims management role or an investigation role. You must understand the term leakage. They only put this up about 10 minutes ago, and what I'll do is I'll come back next week and I'll explain all about leakage in claims for you so you can get an idea of what that's all about. So when you apply for those jobs, you know what you're talking about. That's all my jobs. Just coming up in a minute, we're going to have Casey. I'm just waiting her to arrive in the studio. While I'm waiting for Casey, I just thought I'd show you this one. Down in Melbourne, in Victoria, a man who claimed that he injured his ankle at work did it on a dare, and he's got himself a significant amount of money to pay back, over $103,000 he's got to pay back for that. In general insurance this week, a man had his claim denied because he took the insurance policy out after the accident. Now, if ever you have an accident on the same day as you buy a car, they're going to check thoroughly what time the accident was, what the police report says the time was, what time it was reported to the insurer, and what time the policy was taken out. So in this case, it was decided by the authority, the regulatory authority, after he appealed their decision of the insurance company, that no, they're not going to pay that claim. So that's a very interesting one that came out this week. We've got Casey coming up, and she's going to tell us all about AIRLAP. G'day, Casey. How are you?
Hi, Mike. I'm well, thank you.
Very good. You've been in a rush today.
Yes. I've got my notes here.
All right. Thanks for coming in. So what have you got to tell us? What's happening at AIRLAP?
So with AIRLAP, as everybody who's been watching the show knows, we really want to be a proactive industry association, and we really believe that as an industry, we're stronger together. So we've decided that on the first Friday of every month, we will, half an hour before this stream starts, so it'll be 1:30 Eastern Standard Time, we will have our members meet. If you're a member, you'll receive an email with a link and an option to RSVP. So you can come along and join us, and you can network, and you can get to know your fellow AIRLAP members. You can learn from each other. And for example, you might need a property checked out in Toowoomba and you live in Sydney, and you've got this whole network that you can tap into, and that's what we really want. We really want to be able to bring investigators or alumni from the Australian Security Academy together to help each other out, because often when we're working by ourselves, whether we're on surveillance or whether we're in a government risk job, it can be a little bit isolating. So when you've got this network of other like-minded professionals who are proactively going out there and looking after themselves, educating themselves, then you have that network that you know that you can trust and you can kind of tap into. So make sure, if you're not a member yet and you are a graduate of the Australian Security Academy, send me an email. My email is casey@australiansecurityacademy.edu.au, or of course, if you've most likely got Mike's email, so send him an email and he'll let me know, and I'll make sure that I make you a member. And yeah, so it also covers, your continuous development points, which is really important. So obviously, being an industry association, that's also what we're here for, to make sure that you get your 12 continuous development points every year. And each of these meetings will contribute 3, I believe, Mike?
That's correct, 3 points.
Yeah, 3 points towards your continuous professional development, which is really important. So, and we'll also do our best to probably get some guest speakers in. Remember, it's only half an hour out of your day, and you get to network, and we'll just have little time slots where that's short, sharp, where you can learn from an expert. And I'm really excited for it, Mike.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too, Case. It's been a great initiative that we've been putting together. Our Executive Vice President, Renee's been working tirelessly behind the scenes, getting people to join and getting people involved in the program. Couldn't be happier with that. So we're actually seeing it really come together. So anyone that can't make the meeting, they'll be able to see the replay of the meeting, but you have to actually be there to get your continuous development points, because this is serious stuff. We're going to get it authorised through the Queensland Fair Trading and the Licensing Regulation Division in Victoria, and they're going to want to know that you were there, and it's recorded that you were there, and you're going to be learning some little different things when in these programs. We are going to try and ensure you get some practice at being there virtually. So that's something that is coming up. So that will happen in those programs, and it just happens for 30 minutes once a month, and you don't have to do anything. You don't have to be a treasurer. You don't have to be vice president. You don't have to stuff envelopes and mail people or anything like that. It's all done online. You don't have to leave home. So it's very convenient for our graduate students of the Australian Security Academy, being a free member of that industry association. And if you get those continuous development points, then you go up the levels of the association. So thanks for that, Casey. I've just got to run through a couple of other things that have happened this week. This is big news this week. KPMG has been fined $615,000 in Australia. They're an auditing firm, one of the big four. And they found that their internal staff were cheating on their internal training and exams, so passing on the answers to the questions. So this is really, really big news. It's embarrassing for an auditing firm for that to happen. And the directors of KPMG would have been meeting for several days in a row, 24 hours, 24/7, I reckon, to sort that one out. So what we do with our training, we ensure that if we're questioning people, new questions come into our program and they shuffle, and you can't write down the answers, share them and cheat. That's what we do. That's our bread and butter as a registered training organisation. And KPMG must have had the same questions for many years and they got passed around. So that's something that's happened. There's been a lot of talk this week about missing people and finding missing persons. Now, look, I've always maintained as a private investigator, yes, they do find missing people, that's fine. But, mum and dad don't always have $100,000 to find their missing child. They don't. Not everybody's at Vanderbilt or something like that as far as money to spend on that sort of thing. So it's heavy reliance on the police that look for that. A couple of quick tips if you are looking for clues around an area where someone went missing. Now, this one happened completely by accident. It's from a group that I'm in, and it's the Tasmanian Drone Flyers, and they put up a picture this week of St George's Falls at West Ridgely outside of Burnie. And someone had been flying around there, and they discovered at the bottom of these falls there's a whole bunch of dumped motor vehicles. Now, motor vehicles get dumped because they're just old wrecks and people don't want them in their yard, or they're stolen and dumped. So this is a dumping place. Now, I did a bit of research and I found that, yes, regularly people are flying drones there or visiting there and they're complaining about the mess and they want the council to clean it up. So if there's been a missing person or something like that in that area, these are the sort of areas you might find something that's been left behind, a backpack, a computer, a phone, who knows? You don't know. I wouldn't go tramping through the bush looking for this sort of thing. But what I'm saying to you is be aware of it. You're an investigator. Look at all your options. So if a car that's been stolen's been dumped, it could be there, and that might be somewhere worth going and flying your drone and having a look. The important thing here is the access to that area is through a locked gate. You can't get there in a vehicle. You have to jump on your bike and pedal to it. Now, how did those vehicles get there? That's the big question. Someone had a key to that lock gate, so they're in that department that's in charge of that gate, or they've been given those keys, which is a standard insurance check. Who had the keys? So keep that in mind. That's one that's very important. The other thing that's really handy as an investigator, if you're looking for missing people or stolen something from a local area, the roadside quarry is the first place they go to after they steal your luggage or whatever it is in the country. And that's where they hide around the corner where no one can see them, and they go through your stuff looking for cash, valuables, that sort of thing. Chuck out your undies and your clothes as they rifle through it, find your camera, and they keep that because they're going to go and sell that. So these quarries are a dumping ground for stuff like that. So as an investigator, once again, if it's in that area, it's happened recently, you've been called in, it's always worth a visit to those abandoned, you know, they look abandoned, some of them are still quite functional quarries around the area. So keep that in mind. So that's something I really want you to sort of look at, check out in your investigations, especially if you're in those highway country areas where they are really good places to conceal yourself, those people that go and steal those things. A few other jobs that have been around. The energy regulator down in Melbourne has 2 positions vacant. So if you're a Sparky with some investigation skills, you're going to need a certificate for in government investigation for that role, but that's one that's come up. I've done fraud leakage. This is a beauty. Commonwealth Bank, general insurance investigation. So you'll be in charge of their general insurance investigation, stolen motor vehicles, home arsons, home burglaries, break-into steals. That's a great opportunity if you're an investigator with investigation skills and experienced in general insurance investigation with the Commonwealth Bank. Adjuster Corp up in Brisbane are looking for factual investigators. Now, they want a factual investigator who takes statements. They make it specifically clear in their advertisement that's on our Facebook page, they don't want surveillance investigator, no interest in it, none whatsoever. Okay, so they want factual investigator. If you're a surveillance investigator, don't apply, right? They've made that very clear. So Adjuster Corp up in Brisbane, licensed private investigator. If you've got a license, get in touch with them. They want to speak to you. Zurich have a internal dispute resolution leader position. Now, IDR, internal dispute resolution in insurance companies, it's the people that if you aren't satisfied with the outcome of your claim, internally you can appeal to internal dispute resolution or IDR, and they will go and re-investigate that claim for you and look at the decision made by the insurance company if they've knocked you back. So that's a great position there with Zurich. It'll keep you very busy, and they'll take you from anywhere in Australia. You can do that one completely online. Great opportunity there. One that I found particularly great this week, and I really enjoyed it. If you get a chance to jump on LinkedIn, I want you to check out Melanie. Melanie put a post up yesterday, and it went for something like 2 minutes, 60 seconds. Now, Melanie's a lawyer in Brisbane, and she was talking about reasonable foreseeability. Here's just a brief glimpse of it.
The decision of COGS and Mid-Coast Council, the court was again asked to consider the correct formulation of the risk of harm. In this case, the plaintiff was a pilot. He was injured when he was performing a landing at an airstrip, and he collided with a Ferris wheel. Now, that may have you thinking back to that old NRMA ad, charterboat? Not charterboat, but there was more to it from the perspective of the plaintiff in this one.
In just over 1.5 minutes there, Melanie's introducing it. Then she goes into all the ins and outs of that case law and that decision. So get on LinkedIn, link up with Melanie. She did a really powerful, quick presentation she smiled all the way through it. She was animated all the way through it. She wasn't an upper self lawyer, boring, right? It was just absolutely great to watch. And Melanie just hit the nail on the head impactfully with everything she said, and it was a really good little piece of learning for private investigators. So Melanie Quixley on LinkedIn. I'll show you where it is. Here we go. There's Melanie. Okay, get in touch with her. You can see the full 3-minute presentation she did yesterday, which was a real beauty. So something to do a bit of research with. If you're an investigator, you'll find her, link up with her, and tell her what a great video that was. It was a beauty. Done that one. Casey, you're going to go on with OSINT, please.
Yeah, sure. So I thought that maybe just to help our investigators with a bit of OSINT, I might jump on now and then and do the OSINT tip of the week. And this week is, I just love this one. It is phonebook.cz, and it provides a comprehensive list of exposed and leaked emails. So this is all open source. These are emails and things that have been exposed online, or maybe they've just been harvested online from all different websites. And just before, literally 3 minutes before the show started, because I was quite late today, I just typed in queensland.gov.au and it brought up hundreds of email addresses. So these are all email addresses for Queensland government employees that have been found online, either through hacks that have exposed these guys, or maybe they've just got their email addresses on a directory on .gov.au, but it's all in one easy spot. So you can type in any website, and as you can see, I just typed in queensland.gov.au and it's brought all of them up. So if you ever need to investigate a company and see which emails have been exposed, maybe your own company, maybe the government department that you're working for, if you're in the Queensland government and you're looking at this, you might need to check that out, because all of these email addresses are exposed online and are open source. So again, that is phonebook.cz. And that's
Thanks, Casey. That's a great tip, Casey. That's fantastic. I think they'll be looking at plugging that hole as soon as they possibly can. So we had a question come up, and I'm sorry, I didn't know it was so big, but it took up some of your space there. We've been asked, a lot of these jobs applications require substantial experience. How do you get this experience if you have just completed your qualification? That is a really good question, an excellent question. Now, you're not going to go and have brain surgery with an inexperienced brain surgeon. That's not going to happen, right? So there are standards that are required by all workplaces. That's an expectation. But if you've done your course and you know your stuff as a result of your course, how do you explain the experience? Here it is.
Okay, so this is a typical situation. Dr. Louise, our psychologist, is going to assist PIs with employment fright issues. So in this, we're going to have a scenario that's an analogy, and Freddie is a virgin. He lives with his mum and his cat, which is not a good start. Lucy, who Freddie met on Bookface, wants to take their relationship to the next level while her parents are away at the long weekend church conference. Bloody kids. Freddie's self-talk is negative. I am shy, I have no experience. What if I go wrong? I'm not worthy, I need Viagra. It's time to stop making excuses, Freddie. The time has arrived to man up. What would a psychologist advise frightened Freddie to do in this dire dilemma? As an Australian Security Academy student, you have experience. You've conducted records of interview in your course. You have written 3 factual investigation reports in your course: workers' comp, CTP liability and public liability. You've located subjects. You have planned 4 different investigations. You know your licensing acts and regulations, and you know what general insurance is. You've conducted field observations, and you've written 3 investigation reports. All of that was in your Australian Security Academy course over 550 hours. You are now a member of an industry association. So all of that adds up to meaning that you are a highly experienced professional investigator with more experience than anyone that's done a Centrelink 40-hour course in Queensland. You are way ahead of the pack. As an Australian Security Academy graduate, you have experience in investigations, and it's very important you emphasise that when you apply for work as a licensed private investigator in Australia.
One of the first assessments you will do at the Australian Security Academy involves general insurance. Now, in those jobs that you saw here today, 3 of them demanded general insurance experience. Now, if you read those jobs, you go on the Facebook page Okay, so you pop over to our Facebook page where all these jobs are and you can see them. You have to join it. I'll approve your application to do it. That's where you see where the jobs are. Now, if you look at what's written in the jobs, they want positive people with a positive outlook. Because if you're going to be an investigator, you are an A-type personality, right? That's the personality required. Z-type personalities who are wallflowers, they go and do, I don't know, kitten farming or crochet teaching or something like that. But investigators are positive people. They put themselves out there. They ask questions. They ask hard questions. They solve issues for people corporately, privately, or in government, and they're in high demand. But they're only in high demand because they are good at what they do and they're confident at how they go about it. So I want to make it very clear, I don't care if you're the world's best murder investigator and you solved 600 murders, they started somewhere. But they didn't start by apologising for the fact, look, I'm really anxious to do this job. I'm sorry, I don't have any experience. It comes over time. So you show yourself up, you present, and you're confident you will get that work. I had to do it a long time ago. Casey, I'm sure you've done it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And with our AIRLAP meetings, people, that's where you're going to get the practice with what Casey and I are doing now. You're going to introduce yourself to the other members and you're going to come kicking and screaming into 2022 with what you have to do today. Be online, have that product, which is your brand, online on display for people to be confident with, and that comes. So that's the sermon for today. Now, sorry, Casey?
I just wanted to say that usually when students reach out to me afterwards and say, well, what's happening? Like, sometimes it takes time. It's a business, and any business, when you start it, you have to sow the seeds and you will see it grow. And it's just fantastic. I love seeing people that have graduated slowly doing that networking, reaching out, finding odd jobs, doing them well, doing them confidently, and then growing their business. No business starts out and just goes absolutely boom. It's all about networking, jumping on things like this, and LinkedIn. We find LinkedIn as a fantastic resource. And yeah, sometimes it takes time. So be patient, keep sowing those seeds.
If you want to watch a replay of anything you've seen or heard in this program about how police surveillance operators work, that sort of thing, just go to our YouTube channel. You can watch it tomorrow and you can replay this straight after this show. You just hit replay. Okay, so you can see those jobs. You can hear some of that stuff all over again. Now, other things that happened this week in investigations really had an enjoyable presentation from the AIPI and Dr. Alan Yates about corruption in New South Wales local government. Now, this was on top of a similar one that they did last year in federal government, and they spoke about federal government and corruption issues, and this one was specifically about local government. And the contrast between the two was quite staggering. Last year, with federal government, they had real issues with fraud in procurement. So buying whatever, computers or pencils or rubber gloves or whatever for federal government, that's one of their issues. Now, Dr. Alan Yates pointed out they don't have any procurement issues in local government. Now, he maintained it all the way through and he stuck to his guns all the way through, and he was absolutely right. A couple of years ago, there was a big focus on bribes in procurement in local government in New South Wales. And there was a big fuss about it and a big crackdown on what suppliers were doing. Were going along and they were just basically bribing procurement officers in local to buy their rubber gloves or their high visibility shirts, all that sort of thing. So there was a big crackdown on it. Now, that was a really, really great presentation by Dr. Alan Yates, and the AIPI put it on a really good program. Now, one of the things that they addressed in it was people's reluctance to report fraud in local government. And I'm sitting there watching this and I'm typing emails and I'm answering the phone and doing all sorts of things. And this was one of the last slides. And I thought, yeah, people are reluctant to blow the whistle. They are reluctant. And they said, why? You know, they don't want to rock the boat. The superior might be involved in it, so I'm not going there. I'll lose my job. And they had all these reluctance things. And I'm watching that and I finished watching it. And within seconds after I clicked leave that presentation, I got an email about a fraud matter, which I alerted an organisation to. And in that email, it was basically a false denial, like Pat Flynn had in our program last week, about an issue that I raised. The manager didn't like seeing that it was going on. Now, basically, this is what was going on. The big square at the top with the big dollar sign in it represents big government money flowing into an organisation. The organisation's funded duty was to consult with stakeholders. In this matter, there were 2 stakeholders. That's it. 2, no more. That's the situation. They've got to consult. They're paid by the government to do that. They're not paid for any other reason than to consult, find out and plan for the future. The corporation that was paid to do that consulting with both stakeholders did the consulting with one only. They went round the process. They skirted it. They only consulted with one. 50% of the industry they consulted with. The other 50% they didn't. They then, as an organisation, became a cash sponsor of the organisation they consulted with. So that means government money given to them to consult was then used to fund the corporation competitively against the other one. Now, when you raise issues like this, you can become a bit of a target. And the funding here we're looking at would be over $30 million. And I went back to what I'd just seen probably 2 minutes before that. And I thought to myself, oh boy, here we go. And that's the situation that's going to happen. Now, I told that person that sent me an email to advise their superior very quickly, extremely quickly. Now, their superior came back at me 24 hours later and made an extra false denial. So that's quite interesting, something I'll keep you updated on this program. The relevance of what the AIPI did on Wednesday, the relevance of what they did is just staggering that it happened so quickly to me. So that was something that I found very interesting. Casey, we'll be back next week for updates on what's happening. I think we have covered all the developments in investigations this week. People, get in touch with Casey to get your digital badge for AIRLAP. So you can have that digital badge and put it up on your website. We're going to be covering next week about the different levels of AIRLAP and also the letters that you can have after your name. Casey, what's the contact to get that digital badge from you once more, please?
It's just casey@australiansecurityacademy.edu.au.
Fantastic, Casey. Thanks very much. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for your participation and your engagement today. We're going out in our usual way.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
That's how all investigation agencies finish their week, with all units returning to base. Great movie. Ever get the chance to watch it? Koreans have a great sense of humour. See you next week, Casey. Thanks for coming in.
Okay, bye, everybody.